Greetings, everyone. My name is Monique Green, and I have been given the opportunity to express to you the impact governing authorities has had on small businesses. The governing authorities that we will be discussing today are locally, statewide, and federally. I will be using Aristotle's way of rhetoric appeal to expose the undiplomatic policies that were set in place, as well as not enough funding reaching the small business. Now, I will say this. I am a small business owner. I've owned a restaurant here in the state of Alabama for over 8 years. So my ethos or moral belief or testimony definitely deems me as a reliable source concerning this matter. Now, back in April of this year, the county commissioner as well as the mayor joined together and launched a program locally here in the city of Montgomery called HUB, which was Help Unite Businesses, a one-stop shop where those in the city of Montgomery could receive resources during this pandemic. But what it actually turned out to be was more of a fraternized gathering of who knows who, as well as a lot of paperwork being passed back and forth, nothing ever being resolved. What most small business owners rightly complained about was that there was no assistance whatsoever. It was above their pay grade, is what we've heard. It was out of our hands, or the federal government is working on something. We could have figured that out on the news as well as in our Google search engines. So let's look at some logos facts. 42% of small businesses closed at the very beginning of the pandemic. Within the third month, that number increased to 56%. That was providing more than 6.2 million jobs for the citizens here within the United States. Now, I will say that on a federal level, there was a PPP loan that was released. Most of you heard of it, called Paycheck Protection Plan. And with this plan, it was released to small business owners to pay their salaries for their staff. Now let's back it up, because you do remember that 6.2 million people were already laid off, and they were receiving what you hear or you've heard called PUA. $600 for PUA was whatever their regular unemployment was. This is where I say undiplomatic policies, because how can I have someone work and you're the federal government are paying them 3 to 4 times the amount of salary for staying home versus what I'm going to pay them to come back to work? The other issue and the problem that small business owners had was, on top of that, for micro business owners, meaning a staff of 10 or more, 60% was way too high to go towards salaries. In a restaurant or a bar, most of the time, all you had to pay was the salaries of your cooks, because your servers made their salaries in tips. I still had overhead to pay. I still had food and liquor to pay. I still had to utilities that must be paid. But in order for me not to be fined by accepting this loan, or so that my loan will be forgiven, I had to stay within those parameters. In other words, how can I provide a job for the citizens here in the state, the city of Montgomery, if I have no place for them, no business or an establishment for them to work out of? So my pathos moral is, how are the small businesses supposed to survive? We're already operating at a half or 50% occupancy due to social distancing. The labor ABC board on state levels closed and stopped liquor sales after 11 o'clock. If nothing is done concerning supporting the small businesses, changing policies, or sending funding will be forced to close at the hands of our governing authorities. Thank you so much for listening.